But to start out, my daily take today, published over at HartmannReport.com, is titled "The Sound of Freedom Shattering at 3 a.m." 3:07 in the morning, the pounding started, and this is not a knock or a doorbell or something like that. This is the kind of sound, the kind of impact it meant to wake the neighbors and convince the people inside that resistance will be pointless. And within seconds, armed men were inside the house shouting orders, refusing questions, no explanation, no warrant, just charges read, just urgency, intimidation, and removal. And the people taken out that night would eventually learn something even more chilling, that under the legal theory being used, what happened wasn't even considered a violation of their rights. This was 1773 in Boston. This whole idea of warrantless searches, kicking in doors in the modern version, smashing car windows, this is not new in America. In fact, it's exactly what the founders of this republic rebelled against. The men who wrote the Declaration of Independence weren't really acting to isolated abuses, like I just documented. They were reacting to a system designed to make basically resistance legally impossible, while violence by the state remains technically legal. And as a result of that, every clause, every amendment in the Bill of Rights and all of the complaints in the Declaration of Independence point directly to the stuff that ICE and Donald Trump are doing right now. Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, and I quote, "The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws. He has made judges dependent on his will alone. He has erected a multitude of new offices and has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with other parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of a trial by jury, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people." End of quote from Thomas Jefferson. It's also why the framers of the Constitution added the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, which include speaking specifically to these violations from 1770s and before, and to what ICE and Trump and Thom and Bondi and the whole bunch of them are doing right now. These are direct quotes from the supreme law of our land, the Constitution of the United States as amended by the Bill of Rights. Quote, "Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievance. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, homes, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. No person," notice it doesn't say no citizen, it says no person. "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial." Again, it doesn't say the citizens, it says the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, to be confronted with witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense.
CPAP is canceled. I found something better. So I almost made the dumbest mistake of my life. I got this contour pillow called Durilla.
That's in the Bill of Rights. Our nation's founders didn't just oppose or fear or ultimately fight back against individual abuses. What they opposed was a system, a governing structure where each action reinforces the next until the law basically stops being a power that restrains government. So consider where we are today. Trump's masked, absolutely immune fascist goons are kicking in doors and smashing car windows and violently seizing people without judicial warrants, an open violation of the Fourth Amendment. They're building massive databases of people that they consider domestic terrorists, demanding social media sites turn over to them the identities of people who post anti-Trump messages. They're visiting the homes of people who have attended protests to intimidate them. Their Epstein-class billionaire fascist allies are tweaking social media algorithms to amplify pro-Trump, pro-ICE messages and shadow banning those opposing them. Other Epstein-class billionaire fascist allies are buying up major news sites and spinning the news and opinion they publish to normalize all this. At the same time, Trump, the 13 Epstein-class billionaires in his cabinet, and the 150 Epstein-class billionaires who supported his ascent to power are grifting billions out of our economy while gutting healthcare, education, housing assistance, green energy, and any other program that might support the middle class. And now the senior-most leaders of Canada and Europe are saying, we don't think America is going to recover from this, even if the Democrats regain power. Canada just more than doubled their defense spending. They view us now as a potential enemy, not ally. The final report that came out of the Munich Security Conference says, and I quote, more than 80 years after construction began, the U.S.-led post-1945 international order is now under destruction. Trump and Vance are demolition men, and even when compared to Putin, are the most powerful of those who would take an axe to existing rules and institutions. Trump's policies will pave the way for a world that privileges the rich and powerful, not the wider mass of people who have placed their hopes in disruptive change. And Reuters pointed out, 4,400 times now, judges have ruled that what Trump and ICE are doing by snatching people without warrants is illegal and unconstitutional. The biggest growth industry in America right now is building concentration camps. Now, the bottom line here is that Americans' founders anticipated this possibility. But again, instead of saying, no, you can't do this or this or this, they said, you cannot create a system that does this. And they did that by creating a system that prevents this.
What's